Okay, so in this video, we are going to be talking about the iPhone 15 Pro and whether or not you should upgrade. So in order to find out whether you should upgrade, we are going to first talk about what's completely new in the iPhone 15 Pro, and then depending on which model iPhone you're coming from, whether or not it warrants an upgrade from you. Now, let's talk about what's brand new here, and a titanium is a great place to start because that's where Apple's marketing campaign was mostly about. The phone definitely feels lighter in hand, and one of the enhancements that I really appreciate is that the edges are a little bit more curved than they have been in years past. That makes the phones a lot more comfortable to hold in hand without any case, and this is honestly the first iPhone ever that I'm going to go completely caseless for. I'm still going to put a screen protector on it, but otherwise, whereas older iPhones have felt pretty sharp in my hand, this one just feels really nice. The bezel around the screen is ever so slightly thinner than in years past, so it makes the phone seem a bit more edge to edge. And now let's move on to the buttons. The action button is brand new. And whereas the toggle for keeping your phone on silent, I never touched because I always kept on silent, the action button you can now toggle to many different settings such as do not disturb, flashlight, camera, or using the shortcuts, anything that you would want to open up. I have personally set it to do not disturb because I actually toggle that on and off multiple times throughout the day. But in general, the buttons are a little less clicky. Sometimes when my phone is in my pocket, I like to toggle the volume from the outside of my pants. But because the tactileness is less than what I'm used to, sometimes I don't know if it's actually registering a click, and then all of a sudden my music starts blasting in my AirPods. USB-C, nice to have, not a game changer. As advertised, now I can charge my iPhone, my camera, and my laptop using one USB-C. I still have to have my lightning cable around because my Magic Mouse are still on lightning and my AirPods are still on lightning, but the USB-C has been nice to have. And one thing that I've noticed in using my iPhone for the past week is that the haptics in general are much stronger. You'll get less phantom vibrations in your pocket because it's so much more noticeable. Finally, let's talk about the cameras. If you are using the base iPhone 15 Pro, the cameras are technically no different than they were on last year's 14 Pro. And if you have the iPhone Pro Max like this one, there is a 5x optical zoom camera, which is really far, and I'm going to be making a video just on how good that camera is. So those are the improvements of the newest iPhones. But I've had this phone for about a week and nobody out in the real world notices that I have the newest iPhone. So if you are one of those people who want to get in on the, oh, is that the new iPhone? You're probably not gonna get that much of it, to be honest. All right, so now that we've broken down what's new on the iPhone 15 Pros, let's talk about each of the previous generations and whether or not you should upgrade. Now, for the sake of this upgrade comparison, I'm only going to be comparing the Pro models. If you have last year's iPhones, you don't need to upgrade to this one. I had last year's iPhone 14 Pro, and the 15 Pro is such an incremental jump. Is it a little bit nicer to have in hand? Sure, it's a bit lighter, a bit more comfortable. My old iPhone 14 Pro and that purple color was sick. I love that phone. So if you just have last year's iPhone models, no need to upgrade here. Now, let's say you're coming from the iPhone 13 Pro models. This one, I also think you should still be okay. I have a ton of friends who are still on the iPhone 13 lineup, and that light blue Pro color was so nice. The reach of the telephoto lens is still 3x on the iPhone 13 Pro as it is on the 14 and 15 Pro. And the only real difference was a dynamic island, which I don't think is a big enough feature to warrant an upgrade. I don't think you're missing out on much if you still have the old school notch. If you're coming from iPhone 12 Pro, which was released back in October of 2020, this is where it gets a little bit more nuanced. If you want the new and improved cameras and your battery life is starting to suffer, I would say upgrade. I remember when I had my iPhone 12 Pro, the battery life was already kind of finicky, and that generation just had a little bit worse battery life in general. So if you are starting to feel some of the pains, and I think the jump between 12 Pro and 15 Pro's camera is enough to warrant that upgrade. And coming from the 12 Pro to the 15 Pro, you're also going to upgrade to the 120 Hz display, which is a nice bump. Now, if you're coming from an iPhone 11 Pro, which was released all the way back in 2019, I would definitely say upgrade. I'm sure by now that your battery life is much worse and the camera improvement will be substantially better than something coming out of an iPhone 11 Pro. And if you're coming from an iPhone older than that, so I'm talking about the iPhone XS or the 10, ones with the older design as well, I definitely think you should upgrade to the iPhone 15 Pro. You'll get a substantial jump, you'll get the ultra wide camera for the first time, and the camera quality, the battery life, and the materials, everything will be so much better than coming from a much older iPhone generation. Okay, so let me know down in the comments whether you're going to upgrade to the new iPhone 15 Pro, or if you have any questions about whether or not you should upgrade depending on your iPhone. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.